Never in my life have I had so many problems with a PC, but I am very close to having to take a trip to the local PC store probably on Monday, which would be tomorrow for those that are keeping track, because I'm going to slam, don't that I recommend this, but slam this PC off my desk. Now, audio is probably not perfect. I'm going to apologize in advance because I am talking to my phone. I don't know. Maybe it sounds better than it normally does, but that's just what you have to do when you're 15 minutes behind. And I also have some remorse because Nick spent an hour putting together graphics and probably all these things for this show, and my PC decides to take a crash. And I keep thinking to myself, I did a show on Friday night, and this computer has not been touched since then. So that's where I'm at. That's how I feel on a Sunday night. Is the Steel guy any good? I don't know. I have no idea. That's why we're going to bring on Bryce. I do know that we struggled to take care of the Rockies series, so it was already a little bit of a struggle, perhaps feeling great about this team. But we did win, 4-3. And Nick, welcome into a Sunday night edition of Chatterbox Reds, one that got off to a late start, and I and honestly, I feel like Bubba Thompson right now. That's what I feel like.
There you go. All right, well, we'll work through it. Bryce will be on in about 15 minutes, so we got about 15 minutes to talk about the Red series, and then we'll move on to the draft. I don't know, Trace. It was an interesting week for the Reds. Like, as cliche as it sounds, it was kind of a microcosm of the season. I mean, you go 4-3, you win 4 out of your last 5, all good things, but you feel like you could have been better, and that's kind of how it's felt all year. Games left on the table, but somehow, some way, they're still 2.5 out at the All-Star break, so we'll see. I mean, it's gonna like come fast and furious after the All-Star break in terms of which direction you go. It's gonna feel like every single game is a must-win game to be a buyer or a seller. And maybe it's not that dire, but it's going to feel like that every night.
I think it is. I think it is that dire right now. If we're going to be completely frank about the buyers or sellers of the world, I know that you'd like to think that since you won the series against the Rockies, that turns you into a buyer. This homestand was supposed to be 5-2. 4-3 was looked at as kind of a little bit of a failed operation. It is what it is. Like, I'm not here to try to make a show negative, and I think a lot of people just think that's how I am in general as a fan. I try to be a realist is the way I look at it. I just don't know. They didn't play great baseball this weekend either. Yeah, there wasn't anything that gave me a vote of confidence moving forward that this is a baseball team that's ready to compete with some of the better teams at the top of this league. And again, if you want to get upset at me for saying that and saying, oh, you're being overly negative after they just won a series, then I'd say, okay, then you have a hard time really looking through the blinders that are fandom at times, because this team was very fortunate to not get swept by the Rockies. That's how I feel about it. They won the series, yes, but the Rockies, and I guess this is why they're 22-90. I mean, they had guys at third on Saturday multiple times with nobody out, and they just couldn't put the bat on the ball. And you can convince me that maybe it was our dominant pitching, but we'll see. I guess we'll find out if that's what it is. But they were very fortunate, and I'm glad they took care of business on Saturday. And then obviously today, maybe wasn't as big of the dramatic style, but still, it was a situation where you had to win, and they did. So it kind of kicks the can down the road, Nick. They're gonna have to do something special. I was hoping 6-1, 5-2, heaven forbid 7-0. That's special. That's like something you can start to hang your hat on and say, all right, let's start to think about maybe moving some pieces to try to get some help. I have a hard time getting myself there. I know many people might say, well, we got to go get some help, buy. I'm sorry. I'd like the record to state that I'm just not there yet. And luckily for the Reds, I guess they don't have to make that decision, right when they get back from break. But they're gonna have to play. What are they? 3 games over now. They're gonna have to get this, in my opinion, like 6 or 7, maybe 8 games over for me to really get to a spot where I'm ready to go, whatever term you want to use, all in or buy at the deadline. Because this just doesn't look like a baseball team, in my opinion, that's ready to compete with some of the better teams in this league.
I'm with you, Trace. Like I am happy they're where they're at, but don't have a lot of confidence now they got there. Now, what I will say is Noelvi Marte looked like an absolute star this week, which to me, that's a huge deal because that's not just a huge deal for this year. That's a huge deal for the future. So that's the one thing that has me the most excited about right now is that Noelvi Marte looks like a dude again. And that completely changes so much of the entire complexion of the organization. And I really do not think that's hyperbole at all. But I mean, look, you got, I mean, essentially you have 3 series, Trace, after the All-Star break, and you have to pretty much have a hard decision by then. I mean, 9 games. I don't know. I've never had a Reds team where I felt less conviction one way or the other about. I never felt this way before because in one vein, you can say there's probably 10 games, and I'm just using a number. I haven't dug through them all. But there's probably 10 games that the Reds gave away this year, and there's less than 5 games that they stole. Do you feel like that's kind of a fair-ish number there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've stolen at most, in my opinion, like 3 games.
But the gap between how many they've given away versus stealing is wide. If it was even, this team would be holding a playoff spot and be in contention for the NL Central. So I kind of go back to that, and I'm like, maybe they're not that bad, Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough team. I pray to God, please come out of the All-Star break and either win, go 6-1 or 1-6. Like, please. I just do not want to be 3 games out in 9 games in when you get to that Dodgers series, because it's the worst spot possible to be in.
Well, 2 things I would point out if you want to try to get yourself, you can paint this narrative however you'd like. I'm going to paint it the way that I see it, and I'm going to be a straight shooter as I've always tried to be on this show and really in my life in general. They've had a fortunate schedule. They've not played many difficult teams on the front half of this calendar, if you looked at it. They also got incredible production from their catching position, and they're not going to, unless Stevenson turns it around significantly, that's a pretty big wide gap that has been set. I don't know if they're going to get what was Trevino at the beginning of this year and Austin Wynns, although we make fun of it. I'm just saying, I'm not even trying to make it a joking matter. I'm saying if you combine both of them and what they did do, that was a legitimately all-star catcher. You can point back to the fact that this bullpen was relatively fresh. They didn't have to worry about guys wearing down. We've already started to see that. Santillan, I don't know. I mean, he was absolute nails at the beginning of this year, and it's slowly starting to bear its head that, we it's pretty evident we only have a couple guys in that bullpen that we trust. So now that's a pretty good argument to say maybe, well, that's why you need to go get some help in the bullpen, et cetera, et cetera. The question is what's the cost? What's the cost? Because, again, I continue to find myself asking, is this baseball team a serious baseball team that I believe in that can go and win and again, I guess we've been starved for so damn long that it changes what really good franchises would do. And what I mean by that is that our fan base just wants to make the postseason. And I guess to a certain extent, yes, if we lost in the first round and an epic failure like we have before, I think the fan base would still be a little perturbed and upset, but I think that it would kind of change the conception of I guess where we're at. So I'll give the fan base or the fans that side of the aisle. But I mean, isn't the goal to try to win at some point in the postseason? And I keep asking myself, is this team a serious team that could possibly get to a point where you believe that they can win in the postseason? I don't know what the answer is. And I guess ultimately you're betting. You're taking a big risk, in my opinion, on gambling on a couple things, Nick. One, the health of the starting pitching. If you think that the health of the starting pitching is going to stick, then okay. All right. That's one tick towards buying. If you think Spencer Steer is going to continue to play the way that he has over the last month and a half, maybe even going on 2 months at this point, then okay, maybe so. Do you think Matt McLain's going to bounce back? Or do you think TJ Friedel's going to regress to the mean when he's been a pretty good player and he's starting to slide, if you want to call it that, a little bit? Those are all questions that you have to, I guess, find yourself asking. And you really don't want to get into a spot where you're always in sell mode. I get that. But I just think we're being naive if we think we're going to jump all of these teams. I know we're 2.5 games back, but look at all the teams that we got to go through to get there. You're going to have to play 88 wins. Am I crazy for saying 88 wins? Like, that's what this team's going to have to get to, in my opinion, to get to the postseason, is 88 wins. You got expiring contracts on a couple of guys. You also have Stevenson, who has basically 1 year left. You have to get return on some of these guys. You can't just let them walk for nothing. And it's going to be to your point, Nick. I guess what you're getting at is exactly that. They're going to have to go and do next week what I hope they did this week, and that seems to be what we done all season long. Let's just keep on kicking the can down to the next week, because we didn't screw it all the way up, but we really didn't gain a whole ton of ground either.
Fangraphs does say 85.3 for both the Padres and the Giants, which are the two teams that are the most likely teams you're fighting with. I know the Cardinals are in the mix. The Cardinals are projected significantly less. They're only projected at 83.5, and I don't believe the Cardinals are going to be in there till the end. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible 86 could get you in. That still would be good fortune that neither one of those teams plays better than their expectation the rest of the season. I don't know. It's tough to figure out. It's the most damning thing to me, Trace, is that I saw the Reds are linked to the Minnesota Twins for 2 relievers. And you go and you look at the standings, and the Minnesota Twins coming into today were in the exact same spot that the Reds were in. They were 3 games out of a wild card spot, literally the exact same spot. And they are selling. And the Arizona Diamondbacks, there was a report they're blowing everything up. They're a little bit further back than the Reds, but they're not that much further back than the Reds, and probably have a more talented team, if we're being honest. So it's, I don't know. My heart wants them to give this team a chance, because there's a lot of qualities that I like. I mean, they have fought to get back. I mean, this team was dead a month ago, and they have fought. And my heart wants to give them a chance. You know, I love Will Benson. Never made any never been shy about that. And after the game, he's saying, you know, we want to prove that we're worth this team investing in it, whatever he said. I want that, but my head just tells me it's probably not a good idea. So, but again, a lot can change in a week. So we'll have to see. Well, we'll have to dive into it every day. And 9 games after the All-Star break, the Reds are going to have to make their best educated guess. I'm assuming that the Reds are going to lean towards the side of buying if it's a tough decision, just because of how long it's been. But that's the kind of stuff that the Los Angeles Angels do, and that's what makes me nervous.
I also think, and congratulations to Tito on his 2000th win. I also think that there's this little what the hell is Nick Krall to Tito Francona? You know, I mean, if they both stand in a room and there's somebody that's there to gather information from one or the other, you can say whatever you want. Nick Krall might be the smarter one when it comes to how to manage a roster and how to do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. But I think Tito's wearing the pants, man. So I got a pretty good feeling that, you know, Tito's gonna have a say in what happens. And I just don't suspect Tito thinking that he's gonna say, yeah, you're right, guys. Let's be realistic with this. Let's look at the options that we have, and let's kind of set ourselves up, possibly putting ourselves in a better spot for the future. That's just not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I don't know. I'm not going to get overly worked up about it because we're not there yet. They got plenty of time to figure it out one way or the other. But I mean, if you're asking me straight up what this team is right now, they're sellers, man. And I pick up most of that because of what I watched this weekend. I mean, they won
Yeah.
2 games. They won 2 games, but they were horrible.
Yeah, it was not a great week of baseball. I mean, it was maybe the worst 4-3 week of baseball I've ever seen. I mean, the Colorado Rockies are legitimately maybe the worst team in Major League Baseball. And you know, when you go into a series like that, I think you should expect 2 games to probably be pretty easy wins, and one of them will be one of those just something weird happens. Like, you know, maybe Saturday their young pitcher has a good day. Like, these guys are professional, or at least close to professional baseball players. But it shouldn't have been that difficult. And the Marlins shouldn't have been that difficult. So I don't know, but you know what? This team, how stupid this season's been. Watch them go out to Citi Field and sweep the New York Mets next weekend. I mean, that, like, would that shock you, Trace? It wouldn't shock me the least bit.
No, I mean the Mets haven't been playing great baseball of late either. I don't see what they did this last series, to be fair, but I know they were struggling there for a minute.
Lost today to the Royals.
Yeah, so I don't know how difficult of a series that's gonna be. I also say, like, there's weird things that happen at the break too. Like, there's some teams that come back and they seem like a totally different baseball team, and they make a run in the sun. Look at what the Diamondbacks did a few years ago, I guess. Um, but you can't keep pointing towards, like, maybe anomalies and to say, oh, look, like, you can do that too. It's almost like pointing towards the one person that won the Powerball and going around and telling everybody, like, look how great of an opportunity you have here with the Powerball. Um, I guess jumping back into a couple things here. Jake Fraley's here. He's back. What role is he going to have moving forward? I just wonder what is the mindset when it comes to this win now mentality, because you're going to have some decisions that are going to have to get made on roles, and seemingly it just, I don't know. I guess that's let me give me another week. I'll figure it out. I don't want to sit here and make it out to be like, I don't want to watch a bunch of retreads, and I don't want to watch a bunch of older guys that are not going to be here next year continue to get a bunch of at bats when ultimately this team has next to no shot. But at the same time, they went 4-3. That's kicking the can down the road. Maybe they go 6-1 next week, and we're buying high. I don't know, but I don't know. Try not to get my hopes up.
Want to do a box score recap?
Yeah, of today's game, that'd be fantastic.
Let's do a quick box score recap. Reds, Rockies, rubber game of a 3-game series, and the rubber game of a homestand in the final game of the first half. Nick Martinez up against Austin Gomber. Martinez went 1-2-3 in the top of the first, and then TJ Friedl got the Reds off to a great start with his 9th home run of the season, 1-0 Cincinnati. Martinez again went 1-2-3 in the top of the second, but 3 singles and a sac bunt led to 2 Rockies runs, and the Reds trailed 2-1. Reds, though, quickly responded and tied the game in the bottom of the third. TJ Friedl walked, Matt McLain singled, and then Austin Hayes drove home a run with 2 outs, made it a 2-2 game. In the bottom of the fifth, TJ Friedl and Matt McLain led off with singles to get Gomber out of the game. Then with 2 outs, the Reds caught a break when Rockies shortstop Ryan Ritter could not come up with a ground ball off the bat of Noelvi Marte. 3-2 Reds. Martinez went back out on the top of the sixth. He put 2 runners on base and left the game with 1 out. Scott Barlow came in and got out of that jam. Then in the bottom of the seventh, Spencer Steer drove home a big insurance run with an RBI single to increase the Reds' lead to 4-2. And the combo of Barlow, Ashcraft, Santillan, and Pagan through 4 2/3 scoreless innings. Reds win 4-2. Reds finish the first half winners in 4 of their final 5 games and are 50-47 on the season. As mentioned, win number 2,000 for Terry Francona. Trace, we do have a deep drive of the day. Of course, it was off the bat of TJ Friedel hit 385 feet, 101.4 off the bat. And as always, our Deep Drive of the Day proudly sponsored by Deep South Commodities. They are a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks, as always, to our friends at DSC. All right. I want to get some super chats because Bryce is waiting. I hope I got them all. I might have lost them from the other stream, but they're here on the screen for you, Trace.
All right, let's do it. If you would have told me before the season that this is where we'd be at the break, I definitely would have taken it, says Jacob Doyle. That's an interesting thought.
The NL's better than I thought. The National League as a whole is way better than it should have been.
Part of the problem, the other part of the problem that I'm thinking of more or less, if you would have told me that Hunter Green was going to be maybe questionable to return, like it's just like he's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. He might be back in 2 weeks. Oh, he's going to have a rehab assignment, and then he's not.
Trace, if I had told you the Reds were 50-47, what position do you think they'd be in the NL Central? Not fourth.
Yeah, no. Maybe they'd probably be.
I would have said second. I would have thought they were in second place, maybe like 2 games out.
Right.
They're 7.5 back. Like, that's the problem. It's not that, I would have taken 50-47, but I wouldn't have taken the National League being this good.
100%. I think that's a function of we have a historically bad team in this league. They're just a whipping stick for a lot of teams. The Rockies should be taking some wins from some people, and they're not taking really any wins from anybody. That's maybe a little bit part of it. Then you have I don't know if the AL Central even matters, but
I think the NL's dominated the AL and interleague play.
Yeah, it really, like, that's part of it. The interleague is just it's not gone the way that it's not even gone close to the way you thought it might be. So yeah, unfortunately the goalposts are changing. That's the problem, because he's not wrong. I mean, he's maybe a game or two difference. I mean, definitely if you'd have told me we were 5 games over 500, I would have been like, yeah, sign me up. 3 games is I don't know, somewhat realistic based off the schedule we had, but I don't know. It's a fair point.
All right, moving right along.
Trace, to cheer you up, wins hit a homer. There you go, Dunny. Thank you. How'd I know? This computer's cooked, guys. It's cooked. I'm sitting here. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, there's nothing on this computer. The files are gone. I don't know what the hell's happened to it. It's cooked. It's quite literally cooked. So now I'm gonna have to spend a week trying to just get everything back on here that I need. I'm relatively pissed, but I am very, very thankful that Austin Wentz hit a home run. Proudly brought to us by DSC Commodities. Thank you, Reds batter up. Scott says the Reds need to go 38-27 to get to 88 wins and be in the mix. 43 of 65 games is against the Mets, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Dodgers, the Cubs. Sorry, it's a small. Philadelphia, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Toronto, and the Padres. Can they go 22-21 against those teams? Beat the brakes off of Washington, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, LAA. That'd be the Los Angeles Angels, Arizona, and the Athletics. Here's the thing. They can. I think that they can. The question is will they? And I don't think that they will. But at the same time, I got to tell you, like, we're skating on such thin ice right now. I do not want to bet on anything that is the Cincinnati Reds. And that's the issue I keep finding myself in, because we are a depleted bullpen. We also, like, Emilio Pagan, I don't know, like, on Saturday, what a Houdini act that was. And I guess we're just gonna assume that we have a closer. Like, I don't. There's pieces in my brain that I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, is this gonna hold up the rest of the year? I just have a hard time believing it. Is Andrew Abbott gonna throw as well as he has the rest of the year? But I digress. I'm gonna stop being so negative. But kind of pissed off with my computer, and I'm also a little perturbed by the way they played baseball this week when they had a chance to really put they had a chance to put their foot on the pedal here, pedal to the metal, and they just didn't do it. So I don't know. The answer is no. I don't think they can.
What I will say is I do think there's a lot more players on this Reds offense that have the potential to be significantly better than they were in the first half. Like, then you go down
Yeah.
the list. Matt McClain did not play his best baseball. Gavin Lux did not play his best baseball. Was one of the best players in baseball in the second half last year. Spencer Sears certainly did not play his best baseball for most of the first half. Tyler Stevenson didn't. We mentioned he had a great second half. Benson, I mean, I think he'd be a little bit better. And then Noelvi Marte just barely scratched the surface. So the only player that's really drastically overperformed is Elly De La Cruz. And I don't really think that's necessarily, I don't feel it's fluky. So I do think there's a lot of reason for potential upside the second half, but some of that's curved by the fact the Reds have the most difficult schedule in the second half of any team in baseball. And the Padres have the 27th easiest and or the 27th hardest, and the Giants are the 22nd. So that's where it kind of gets hard for me.
I'd also say really quickly, Noelvi's been unbelievable, but I also don't want to just I don't automatically just push it out there and be like, hey, this is the guy. This is what he's going to be the rest of the season. You know, like that's
but the
a little
bar's
much
like
for
down
me.
here for third base. I mean, the
No,
bar
no,
couldn't be any lower.
no, the bar is so low. It's like those yellow jackets they hide cords in concerts. It's not very high. You might accidentally just walk over it and didn't even know it was there. I'm well aware of that. I'm just saying in general, I don't really want to sit here and say that. Justin says, I wish I had my microphone and it worked, you know? Justin Edgel says, poop for brains here. I'm going to do it for you. Santiago Espinal.
Still
That's how he
moving the
should be
mic.
announced every time he comes in for his defensive replacement. Now entering into the game for your Cincinnati Reds at third base, Santiago. I should bring in the guy from TQL Stadium to do it. Anyway, I digress. What's next? Ame says, with pitching, this team can win a series in the playoffs, but not the WSC. Need to sell a guy when their value is high. Abbott, Lodolo, Tyler Stevenson, etc. Well, that's the point. I think that's why we get so a little frustrated by this team kicking the can down the road. Is that they need to get some value back on some of these guys that seem like they have some value. I don't know what they have. That's Nick Krall's job, but yeah, I mean, you'd like to think Lodolo would be a guy that would have some value, but I don't know. But you can't trade. That's the problem. Is you can't trade any of those guys, Nick. You can't trade Nick Martinez. You can't trade
not
Martinez.
If you want to have a chance this year.
Exactly.
The only thing I can think of is if you got really creative and you sold like Nick Lodolo. Maybe you found someone that would really give you a big piece, and then you turned around and you went and you acquired another starting pitcher that's maybe someone that costs money, like someone who's like a solid pitcher, but it's more of a salary dump. You're not giving much back. There's maybe some ways you could maneuver that. I'd love to see the Reds get crazy creative with something like that. That would excite me at the trade deadline is if they did something like that. But yeah, you're like the pitching's so thin right now. Like if you think this team's going to make the playoffs, they can't get rid of any of those guys.
No. There's no replacements at this point. And scary thing is that you'd almost argue that that's the spot they should probably go get some help in as well if they were in a position to make the postseason. Like if they were in a position to make the postseason, and the starting pitching was as bleak as it looks right now, which is quite literally where. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to. I think it's Van Bell in AAA or whatever. I mean, just they're one situation away right now from just being in a world of hurt, coupled with a bullpen that's been pretty taxed. And Quo the Great says, thoughts on Sadak? Games are better with him. Games are better with him, in my opinion. Yeah, no, they definitely are. I mean, definitely are. Like, I get, like, here's the thing with Sadak. I think that there's a certain population that just doesn't like the excitement and kind of how that goes sometimes.
Could you imagine a boring guy with Barry Larkin?
Yeah, it's like I also give Sadak a little bit of props from the standpoint that he has to deal with Barry Larkin a little bit. So you
He's
know what I'm saying?
play-by-play and
Yeah.
color half the game. Yeah, and I mean to Jim Day's credit, I don't think like any sideline reporter that you have come in and fill in is going to sound great. Like
Right.
I don't know if there's anyone across base, but I think Jim Day did fine. It's just I think Sadak leaves the standard high. All right, 2 more quick ones, then we'll get to Bryce.
All right. If we ship out Martinez, Brady Singer, Hayes, Friedel, would you expect players back that improve the 2026 team or farther out than that? I'm concerned that the return who we would be willing to trade might be underwhelming. That's a fair point, Ned, but I think that the point also should be made that a couple of those guys are not going to help us next year. Like Hayes is gone. Martinez is gone. I don't know. Singer off the top of my head, there's some years there for Singer. And Friedel, when's Friedel expire?
He's still got quite a bit left, but he's just so old that it's like I'm not necessarily super like not to be disrespectful to Friedel. I'm not super excited about his last year before he hits free agency because he's going to be like 31 years old, and they feel like he's probably going to at that point have run out of his juice. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, listen. I will openly admit I was wrong on TJ Friedel. Completely wrong on TJ Friedel. I suspected of all the guys that everyone in the fan base was excited about coming into this year, TJ Friedel was going to be the guy that was going to be the most underperforming player that we had, and he's almost been the opposite of that. So shout out to him. And Quilla the Great says people who don't like Sadak want baseball to be 5 hours. Maybe not. I get the point. I get the sentiment. I think Sadak is solid. I mean, he's solid. But I also understand there's a certain population of people that aren't going to be able to like him at all, and there's going to be a certain that think he's just as good as Vin Scully. You know, I mean that's part of it. We'll see.
Oh Lord, I'm off center. There we go.
I brought you.
Bryce.
Hello. How are you all?
Good. Sorry to keep you waiting, buddy.
Not great.
It's all good.
Not great, Bryce. To be honest with you.
Not great. Saw a little behind the scenes what was happening there, but
did the Reds pick up a second player? I literally haven't even seen. Who'd the Reds get?
Aaron Watson from Trinity Christian in Florida. He's a big right-handed pitcher, committed to Florida. Going to probably be an overslot guy, probably $2.5 million signing bonus, but really quality arm. They said he's a polished right-handed pitcher, low to mid 90s, good slider, good feel for a changeup when he throws it. So looks like 2 prep arms to start, 2 prep players to start, which is very unlike the Reds, but I like it. I like the approach.
I didn't expect that. Did you? I with the way that Reds are buyers at like 3 games out, it sure felt to me like they were going to be taking as many possible players that were close to big league ready as possible right now. So I'm encouraged. That means to me that means they must have conviction in these players.
Yeah, especially Hall. I think he was kind of a guy that maybe the Reds were higher on than some other teams. So to take him in the top 10 and kind of show that kind of buy into him, I think that means a lot to him and hopefully makes a payoff for him.
Who did the Dodgers get at 41?
Outfielder from I'm blanking. Arkansas, I think. Yeah, Arkansas. It's kind of a reach. I don't really like the pick, but it's the Dodgers, so he'll turn into the top 100 prospect.
Is that would have been ours, right?
Yeah.
Dodgers taking our comp picks away from us for being.
Well, we got Gavin Lux. So.
I don't know how you want to do this, Trace. Do you just want to like run through the first two picks, let Bryce kind of dive in a little deeper into each one, and we'll take some questions from the chat, and or do you have any other way you want to go with this?
No. I mean, the only maybe we'll save it on the back end is just the idea behind prep players versus college players in general, and the I guess the mindset that would go into either one of those. But before we do that, more than happy to jump into the first two picks themselves, and then Bryce kind of give an overview of just probably I would say a good amount of people in the chat probably already know, but just for the podcast sake, and then obviously maybe some that don't know who the Reds took, overall kind of maybe a high level overview of them, and then maybe your own thoughts.
Yeah. So obviously at 1-9 there, they took prep shortstop Steele Hall from Alabama. It's a really high. It's a kind of an upside play. The floor is present though. I think he's the best athlete in the draft, in my opinion. I think he's somebody that is going to be an impactful player in that sense, pretty much no matter what. He's great with the glove, great hands, going to stick at shortstop, all the good stuff you love to hear. But he's an 80 grade runner. He's a plus runner, like 6'2", 6'3", 60. So that's like Billy Hamilton type fast. Something that doesn't get thrown around a lot. So I think the swing's better than it was last year. And he's a reclass guy. So what the Joe Katuska said, the director of scouting, he pretty much said that if this guy was in the 2026 class, you're looking at a potential 1-1 candidate. So I think that he's a guy they're kind of betting on his upside a little bit, betting on kind of who he could be, maybe similar to Sammy Stafford, Tyson Lewis, maybe with a little bit more like present talent whenever they took him. And those guys have obviously worked out well. So I think it's a fun addition. I think the Reds maybe went a little bit out of their box a little bit, where they maybe took a little bit more high present floor guys in the past with Burns and Louder and even Collier to an extent. Obviously, kind of knew what to expect from him, but this guy has I think the comp keeps getting thrown around, and it's a heavy one, but it's Trey Turner and the speed that he has, the swing that he has, the type of player and the profile he has. I think it's kind of the hope with the pick, obviously, is that he turns into a 3, 4, 5 win player that helps you on both sides of the baseball, which I think we've all been kind of wanting there. So,
did anyone, any of the experts have the Reds linked to him at all?
Yeah, the Baseball America said that was the one prep guy that they were most linked to.
Okay.
I kind of liked Billy Carlson slightly, a little bit more. Obviously, Carlson went 10. We'll see how that plays out. He went to the White Sox. I'm going to hopefully bet on Steele Hall a little bit on that one. And they're such similar players. I just liked Carlson's in-box like motions and movements a little bit more. But that's each their own. Every person sees it a little bit different. Somebody could look at that and say, I don't like how Carlson moves. I like how Hall moves more. So it is what it is. I think that they're both similar type, that they're going to have impact because they're good defensive players. They can impact the game in different ways. And then obviously we talked a little bit about it, but Aaron Watson, Trinity Christian was the pick at 51 there, first second round pick there. Big right-handed arm, 6'5", a lot of kind of projectability with his build and his frame. He likes to sink the ball. He throws a lot of strikes. Good kind of sweeper slider combo. Good feel for a changeup, and then he throws a lot of strikes. He has good command. Everybody keeps saying he's polished. He's polished. So you don't hear that a lot with high school arms. So it feels like it's kind of already a present floor there as well. It's somebody that you hope can maybe even get a tick or two on his fastball with adding a little weight. You think he's 6'5", like 205 right now. If he can get to 220, 230, get a little more oomph behind it, he could be 97, 98. So already having the present feel for multiple pitches is pretty encouraging from an 18-year-old. I think that's obviously, as I mentioned, I think it's going to be an over slot guy. Hall maybe a little under slot, maybe closer to 6, and then Watson maybe 2.5. So the way that the Reds usually structure bonuses, they have obviously everybody has those conversations beforehand whenever you're talking with these guys. these two guys are 100% going to sign. There's no questions asked on that. So it's just a matter of getting them over the line and what that looks like kind of as the draft progresses here, because really only the first 10 picks are kind of what you're working with draft bonus wise there.
So just let's talk a little bit more, just because there's probably a lot of people who don't understand it. I'm not going to sit here and act like I necessarily am the expert on this. But so you're saying that you think Hall will go under slot, and meaning they pay less than what you would typically pay for that pick, but Watson's going to go over slot. Can you kind of explain that to people who maybe don't understand that terminology?
Yeah. So the first 10 rounds, every pick has a slot value, is what they call it. And that slot value is what that pick is, like, I guess, valued at. So right now, the ninth pick in the draft was valued at $6.51 million. That's what, if somebody signs the deal, that's kind of what the baseline of what you're working off of is. Normally, these high school kids have a number that they're willing to sign at. So, like, just for example, Cam Collier's number was $5 million. That's what he wanted to sign and move forward, or he was going to go to Louisville. That was the big thing. The Reds took him at, I think, 15 or 16, and they paid way over slot. I think slot was 2.5, and they paid 5. So there's certain things that happen as the draft progresses. Like, certain teams have more slot values, more money just due to the picks that they have. Like, whenever the Reds traded their comp pick, they pretty much sacrificed $2.5 million that they were going to spend in the draft and they traded it for Lux. So those are things that are always considered, obviously. So I think maybe the Reds and they were thinking maybe they had their eye on Watson, who was a top 50 prospect, probably a little bit better than that. They probably saw him and they said maybe his number's $2 million. If we can get Hall a little bit under slot and get him over slot, then we're getting two guys, maybe two top 40 prospects for those two picks in our top 50 picks there. So it's a lot of it's not really math, but they have to think about those things, obviously. And guys have their values. And Watson's committed to Florida. He can go to Florida for 2 or 3 years and be a great pitcher and potentially go in the first round again. But I think those guys, the Reds are pretty savvy about those things, that they're going to sign both those guys 100%, and we're going to move forward there. So definitely just, you have to kind of know those things kind of in the back of your mind.
The pick numbers are very, like, deceiving today, right? Like someone will go 6th, but he's actually not even probably, and I don't even know this year, but just in general, will go 6th and he's not even close to the 6th best player in the draft. And someone will go 15th and he might be one of the top 5 players, but the teams just knew he was going to cost more. And it's not like one team. I think a lot of people might get the misconception that, if a team is going under, well, they're being cheap. And that's not the case, because every team uses every dollar that they have on the draft. It's just basically, how do you want to allocate it? Do you want to go more all in for a player or players at the top, or do you want to kind of spread it around more? And a lot of it, Bryce, correct me if I'm wrong, is your conviction in these players. So if, like, you're looking at 4 different players and you're like, I don't really see the difference between them all, let's take the guy that's the cheapest, because we might later on be looking at 4 different players. We really love the guy that's going to cost the most expensive out of that group, so we want to kind of burn our dollars there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's certain things, like, obviously the older the player is, like a senior or junior in college, doesn't really have as much leverage as a high school kid who's committed to a high level school and can go on and continue their baseball career. So there's those things are considered as well, but they call them senior signs. Like, you're going to see some really funky picks in, like, the 7th, 8th, 9th rounds with, like, this senior catcher from Cal State Fullerton who's going to sign for $50,000 and save you a bunch of money on your bonus pool so you can sign these other guys. So there's different, like, every draft has it, every team does it. And yeah, like you said, nobody's being cheap. I mean, the $12.5 million that the Reds have, they're going to spend every dime of that to ensure that they sign these players.
I don't ever remember a time where they didn't spend every penny that they had available. Let's ask the question that probably I see the most in our chat and probably the most around. Bryce, why didn't the Reds select Ike Irish? That was the guy everyone thought they were going to select, or I think actually both MLB pipeline guys had them listed. And this is not like a lot of other sports. Like I feel like Bryce, if you predict 5 teams right out of the top first round, you probably were a good predictor. Is that almost how difficult it is? Because the first 2 guys, I don't think anyone had close, right?
Yeah, no, nobody expected Willits or Bremer to go 1 or 2. So yeah, I mean, I get the love with Ike, and I get the reasonings why people wanted him, but you all knew my thoughts on Cags last year. It was a similar situation. Like, we're talking about, like, he whiffs in the zone 20% of the time. MLB average is 82%, and Ike Irish was like 80% in college. Like, he swings and misses in the zone 20% of the time in college, and that's a red flag. He chases a lot. He doesn't walk a lot, and I think there's a reason he fell to almost 20 in the draft for that. Like, I think teams are aware of these things more now than ever, and like, I get it. Cags raked all the way through minor league baseball, but he's been probably the worst player in Major League Baseball this year. So, like, there's whenever you get progressing these levels, like, yeah, if you're more talented than the people around you, you're going to perform. Like, Ike Irish was just more talented than a lot of people in the SEC, and he performed. He had slugged like 750. So, like, I get it. I get why people wanted him, but I'm glad the Reds didn't take him. I would have probably been a little upset on here if I had to come on here and talk about a guy that I didn't believe in, but it's good to see that I think the Reds are aware of those things and didn't try to reach on maybe a pick that would have been popular amongst fans there.
Just also to be clear, like, you have the bonus pool. You can spend more than the bonus pool, but it comes with penalties. So even like when you go, and there might be like, wow, why did the Angels take Tyler Bremer when he wasn't ever suspected to go there? Well, they might be saving $5 million on their 10.25 that they have in the bonus, so they can go and sign some of these high school kids that they might believe in more in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, because they're willing to give them more money. That's kind of the game that is played at the front office level. I guess my question philosophically is maybe a bigger question than just who they took, because I don't know, and I'm not trying to suggest you don't know, Bryce, because you do a lot more research than this than I do. But sitting here trying to predict whether Steele Hall is going to work out for the Cincinnati Reds in 2029 or whatever hell year he ends up being up here, if he ever does make it, and if he doesn't get traded before then, is a really tall tale and a difficult ask. But I think it goes back to my question, which is like, they had an opportunity to take the Tennessee shortstop in Gavin Killen, who's obviously, in my opinion, like a significantly higher floor, but maybe it goes back to the philosophy of like, okay, we took a kid named Elly De La Cruz, who was a raw talent that we kind of wanted to take a lottery ticket on, and now they're starting to think maybe you need kind of those lottery tickets in order to be competitive at the small market level, if you want to call it that. But my thing is, like, the reclassification of him being 17 versus 18 might not seem like a big deal to some. And I get you have 5 years, I think it is, until they get to the Rule 5 draft, because he's under 19 years old. But my thought is, like, if you bring this kid up and he's as good as you think he's going to be, and I've always said this, and I hate this, and I hope MLB changes with the next CBA, the prime of his career is not going to probably get played in Cincinnati. And now, I don't want to get killed for saying that, but it's like, you can hit home runs on these kids that are 17 and 18 years old, but if they come up here when they're 20 or 21, like Elly did, you're gonna have them until right around what I would consider maybe like the meat and potatoes of the prime of their career. And that's where I'm not saying you lose me per se, but that's where it's like, I kind of prefer the guys maybe that are 22 years old, maybe not 22, but 20, 21 when you draft them, because you probably are going to have them right around, I guess, the prime of their careers. But I guess the upside's not there. That's what they don't see.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation, and I think every front office probably had that same debate back and forth. Like, okay, do we take the guy that maybe doesn't have the upside? Like, I think Nolan Sean was a good example. Like, the Angels took him like in the 10th overall a couple years ago, brought him right up, and he kind of failed at first, but now he's a really good hitter. And I think that's probably his ceiling. He's probably going to be a 110 to 115 WRC plus guy for the majority of his career. But like you said, he's already 25. The Angels are going to have him until he's 29. And then from there, there's probably like, oh, we're a first baseman that doesn't hit for power. Like, we appreciate your time, but like, thank you. But like, we'll see you later. So I think that's the difficult scenario. And honestly, the Reds haven't had a great track record of developing college hitters. I don't know if it's a philosophical difference between who they're taking versus maybe they're not spending the capital that they need to spend on it. And maybe that's why we haven't seen as much success. And maybe they just feel like we can sign these Austin Hayes types and trade for a Gavin Lux type and just try to go about it that way and hopefully bet on some of this lower level upside. So it is definitely interesting because, I mean, outside of, I'm trying to think of even who our best college hitter is. You got it pulled up here. I mean, I guess India was probably our best.
McLean, hopefully.
Yeah, McLean, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, we've had a rough go of it with some of these college hitters that we're taking. So I'm hopeful that maybe they found something that's kind of like their niche with these high school kids. Like Tyson Lewis looks good. Sammy Stafford looks good. Obviously, you mentioned Elly and the success they've had there. So maybe they just feel like if the guy's got the tools, we can kind of teach them some of the refinement. And if we just can't get them to the ceiling if they're a college guy, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting conversation.
The most recent college draft picks. So Sirota got traded, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Stovall, who's really struggled so far. Connor Burns really struggled so far. Logan Tanner struggling is an understatement for him. Cade Hunter struggled. Matt Nelson, Jose Torres, Ruben Ibarra. The fact that Ruben Ibarra has probably been one of the better ones is probably concerning. Who else? I'll keep going on the list here. Yvonne Johnson, India.
Dude, I was so bought in on Brent Spillane. He hit like 25 home runs this junior year at Illinois. I thought he was the next Adam Dunn. He struck out like 45% of the time.
Yeah, but I mean they have had some, a pretty decent success here with some of the high school ones, especially Collier and Stewart both look really good right now. Tyson Lewis looks really good. So yeah, and that's a good point about they have not hit a lot. But you know what? I was doing a little bit of research earlier, Bryce, and I don't, I wasn't fully invested in this, but I read something about how college middle infielders has been like the least successful drafted group of players.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I'm trying to think back. Like, I mean, last year, obviously, you can't really judge anything. Weatherholt and Bazana were the two early ones. Those two look pretty good. Weatherholt's in AAA. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's such a hard. The MLB draft is it feels like such a crapshoot just year to year. I mean, outside of like the first like 10 picks, you're just like, if this guy turns out to be like a decent player, like that'd be awesome. like obviously we knew what we were getting with Chase Burns. We knew what we were getting with Rhett Lauder. We knew what we were getting with some of these guys we've picked high, but like, hopefully we're not picking high anymore. Hopefully we're having to dig deep into these conversations where we're like, well, should we have taken this guy who might be a decent player in the future, or should we take this guy that got more upside? So like, it's really tough. And I think they did the right thing last year, taking Burns, even with hindsight in kind of in the picture here. I feel good about him and kind of the trajectory he's on versus some of these other bats outside of maybe Kurtz. Obviously that one stings a little bit, but he was my number one player. And then I kind of backed away because of shoulder injury. Now he's got like 19 homers in the first half of the year.
MLB draft's wild, man. You can, you could screw up your first 9 picks atrociously, like none of them hit, but the 10th round you go out, you draft a superstar, like the Tigers got like Scooble at the 10th round, and like it's the greatest draft class ever. Like you hit the one guy that ends up being a Cy Young winner. So it's a weird sport. I guess it makes it kind of fun and interesting. The Reds are.
Do you think there was any chance, Bryce, that? And I was thinking this when it kind of kept coming down, I think that the panelists there, when they were doing the draft, suggested that there was a chance that I guess that they felt like a lot of these shortstops 6 through 12 where you could argue they were all one's better than the next. There wasn't maybe one guy that stood out there. Did you think there was a chance that they were going to take Jamie Arnold at all? Like, and I know that seems like I get the fan base would have gone absolutely apeshit. Like the fan base would have been absolutely gone crazy. But like you have a chance to get a college left-handed arm.
Yeah.
It's like maybe what the third, fourth would have been like the sixth arm of the draft. Was it? Did you even think it was a possibility or no?
Yeah, when Arnold fell, so I think Joe Doyle, he had all the picks before, like 5 minutes before everything, but he put out that the Blue Jays were going to take Arnold, and I was like, well, I thought the Reds were going to take him if he was there. Like I really did. I thought that if one of the three big left-handed arms fell, that the Reds were going to take him, but they ended up not. I was surprised, really. Well, the Reds took Mason Morris, a right-handed pitcher from Ole Miss.
Bryce, let me ask you if you want to do this. It's up to you. Do you want to take like a 10-minute break, go do a little research on this, do your postings and stuff, and come back and join us and give us a quick rundown?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's roll. All right, we'll see you, Bryce, here in a minute. I'll pull you out. Trace will talk about whatever for 10 minutes. I feel like that might be the
something I want
fairest
to bring up. Something small that happened on Saturday. Of course, I was at the game. We didn't do a show, so it was like there's things that I was thinking of that happened that were a big deal that no one wants to talk about. That I want to remind people it is a big deal. The Rockies conceded and allowed Jake Fraley to go to second base in the what was the bottom of the ninth inning, right? You had Benson on third base. They walked Fraley. Also, what a I mean, I get it, but what a wild spot for Jake Fraley to come into. And obviously he drew a walk, so shout out to him. But he gets on first base, and they conceded allowing him to get to second base. And I know when I was there, I heard people say, well, it doesn't, the winning runs at third base, guy at second doesn't matter. But what you don't realize is it does two things. One, there's always this small chance that there's a line drive to first base, you catch the ball, and you just step on first base because you're already standing relatively next to the bag, and the other guy was just leading off trying to get a little bit of a lead. That's number one. Number two is it allowed the Reds to go on contact without any repercussions at all. I don't want to sit here and make a big joke that the contact play, by the way, won that like it was a part of winning that game. But what it did allow the Reds to do was go on contact. Jake Fraley moves up to third base, and essentially nothing changes. You'd have one out with a guy on third base instead of, Benson being there. You'd have Fraley there. No big deal at all. And it took a lot of pressure off the Reds on having to make a decision whether you send Will Benson or not. Because in my opinion, he laces that ground ball to the second baseman, which you could argue if it was laced or not. If Fraley's still there, he could look at Benson if he doesn't take off. I don't think that that Marte. I guess you could beat it out, but ultimately Fraley I don't think is going to run into the tag. If he does run into the tag, they could have gotten a double play, but they could have also gotten a rundown with Fraley because Fraley would have stopped. They would have pitched the ball to first base to get Marte out, and then they would have had a rundown right there to get 2 outs with a guy still on third base. So it's just, again, I'm not trying to say that the Rockies made a massive mistake, but when people think that stuff doesn't matter, I think it matters a lot, and it allowed the Reds to kind of easily make a decision on whether to go to on contact or not. And boy, you watch the Rockies for a couple days in a row, and you can easily find out why they've won 22 games.
Yeah.
Golly, man. They're allergic to making a decent play when they need to.
Yeah.
Just even today, I mean, booting a ground ball. They fought to try to get out of that inning, and the bases are juiced. He gets a ground ball to the shortstop, and he can't make the play. It's like, dude, my gosh.
I can't remember a game like Saturday where they got out of so many jams.
Oh.
And then they actually ended up coming back. Like, it feels like that whenever that happens, like you don't end up pulling off the comeback. So it was really cool that it actually got rewarded. But man, that game, I mean, the 16 Rockies fans that were watching, I mean, like I mean, we've had some frustrating Reds games, but I don't know if we've had that bad where it was like they were all third base less than 2 outs. Some of them no outs.
No outs. How many times they had guys at third base multiple times with no outs, and they didn't get them in one time. Didn't even put the bat on the ball one inning. Did that happen twice, maybe? I don't want to sit here and get into the weeds of all of it. But I do know that Singer struck out the side when he got a guy on third base. Just strikeout. And I'm almost sure, I could be wrong, but I'm almost sure that Pagan did the same thing. I'm pretty sure he did. In the top of the 9th inning, he gave up what was it, a walk or a hit, and then he gave up a first to third hit. So there was guys on first and third with nobody out, and I think he went punch out. Maybe if I can't remember, punch out again, I don't know, but absurd to get out of those.
Yeah, that was one of the games, man. That was just, this whole week was just
insane.
So much happened. I don't even know where to go. Yeah, I mean, you have any thoughts on? Nick Martinez. I thought he pitched fine today.
Yeah.
TJ Friedl ended the first half strong. That was good to see. That was a big home run right off the rip.
Yeah.
And I guess it was nice. Even the Rockies, you fall behind back-to-back games and you do come back. Reds have definitely, shifted a little bit of that narrative earlier in the year where they weren't coming back at all. They've come back pretty regularly of late. And yes, Saturday was a great comeback. Today really wasn't a great comeback, but it was still a comeback.
Yeah, no, you got to give them some credit. I don't want to sit here and keep beating the Reds down for the way they played. They didn't play great, but I will give them credit. The fact is they could have rolled over in spots, and they didn't. I feel like that. Hopefully, if nothing else, there was a little bit of a burden lifted, because it did feel like they knew the magnitude of the game itself. And I don't want to compare it to the NCAA tournament in the sense that it's exactly the same, but it kind of felt like they were the 2 seed playing the 15 seed out there, and you're just kind of like, you can clearly tell maybe exactly why the other team's a 15 seed, but you just couldn't get away from them. You just couldn't find a way to get away from them, and you're like looking over your shoulder thinking, is this going to be embarrassing that this is like, I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, in the bottom of the 8th, I think they was Will Benson, when Will Benson struck out, I believe it was.
I think it was like a leadoff double or something.
Yeah, and Will Benson struck out with the bases loaded. I thought to myself, like, dude, this is going to be the most embarrassing sweep. If they get swept by this team, and they've not gotten swept all year, this is going to be the most embarrassing thing that's happened to this franchise in quite some time. But yet they turned it around and they found a way to win. So shout out to them. It's hard for me to be like, wow, look how resilient they were. It's like the Rockies handed it to them, man. Besides the 9th inning, kudos to Spencer Steer for fisting a ball to left field too, by the way. I don't want that to go unnoticed. That was a big momentum thing in the inning. I felt like it kind of was like, all right, now we're just one swing away from winning this thing. Whereas before you felt like we can't get anybody on.
Eva spelled it. But the comment of the year, Trace comparing the Reds to John Calipari. I love that comment.
Yeah. I will admit that I think that John Calipari probably had some better rosters, comparatively speaking, to what Tito has. But I'm just saying. I'm not going to sit here and act like that we've underused the talent on this roster, maybe that they have used in Lexington from time to time. But last thing, really quick, before Bryce jumps on here, for those that might forget, just running through some of the, I guess if you want to call it first round picks, dating back to 2017, which is really the last. 2015, they took Tyler Stevenson with the 11th pick. Then they went Nick Senzel, Taylor Trammell, Hunter Green, Jeter Downs, Jonathan India, Nick Lodolo, Austin Hendrick. How could you forget him in 2020? Matt McClain, Jay Allen, Cam Collier, Sal Stewart, Rhett Lauder, Ty Floyd, who was basically a comp pick, and then Chase Burns. So, to be fair to these guys, if you look over the past, 10 years, if you want to call it that, I'm not saying that they haven't missed, right? Because I guess you could have a healthy debate on what's a reasonable expectation of what a number pick should be or do. Nick Lodolo, you could argue, has not been what we wanted him to be yet, but I don't know if that story's over yet either. So, yeah, I mean, Cam Collier certainly looks the part. Sal Stewart certainly looks the part. Unfortunately, Rhett Lauder got hurt. I don't know if you can really fault people for that. And Chase Burns is what he is as well. So, it's hard to sit here and criticize the organization until you see what happens.
All right, Bryce, tell us about our third round pick. This is the pitchers picked around this area have not gone great for the Reds, I feel like, in recent memory.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy. We'll go with that. He is a reliever, like full on. I don't think that he's anything else but a reliever. He throws extremely hard. He's 98, 99. Got a really good cutter, really good fastball, really good slider. The command is a little shaky. He was a lot better this year, cleaned up his command a lot. But I almost wonder, the Reds have never done this, at least to my knowledge, but I wonder if this is a guy that we could legitimately see this year.
I was about to ask.
But it's that good. Like the stuff is that good. Like he's legitimate. I think he struck out 78 guys in 54 and 2/3 innings. He walked 21, gave up 45 hits. So it's a little bit of an elevated whip. You would like to see it from a third round pick, but I think he's a guy that he gets a lot of ground balls, but I just don't know where the next step is for him. Like, do they see him as a starter? He's already 21, about to be 22. Like, is this something that they want to try to develop, or is this just a guy that are like, we know who you are, we know what you are, you're going to be a reliever, and we're just going to ride you through the system. So they've had a lot of success with some college arms, college relievers. Simon Miller is a guy I really like in the system. He was a college reliever. He was pitcher of the year in his conference, and he's pitched really well throughout the minor leagues. Obviously, that's not this guy's level of stuff. Simon Miller has a little bit worse stuff than him, but they definitely aren't afraid to do it. So I don't know. It's an odd one. I don't know how to feel about it yet, but you can see why they are intrigued by him, why they like him. He's just outside the top 100. He's probably an underslot guy. They got to pay these other two guys that we talked about already. Maybe it's just something they feel like they can take a chance on, and the floor is there with him being a bullpen arm is kind of my thought process.
Reds have had a brutal run too with these college pitchers that weren't the top ones. They just have all gotten hurt. Right? I mean, Holman got hurt. Who's some of the other? Yeah, they've had a really just brutal stretch of injuries of those level guys. So what's left on? Is there one more pick tonight?
No, that's it for tonight. And then tomorrow they'll pick up. They've got 114 starting tomorrow. I think they'll finish out the comp round, the third round comp round tonight. And then I think they'll be done after that.
Is there anyone left on the board that you're really intrigued with?
Let me look through it real quick. Mason Neville is a guy that I think is going to end up – he's probably going to go back to school. Jack Bauer is probably a guy that's going to go to school. Those are two high school arms. Jack Bauer throws 103 miles an hour. He's left-handed. He's wild. But, yeah, I don't think anybody's willing to take the risk on him. Most of the guys high-level left are high school guys. Corbin Dickerson's a guy I really like. Hopefully we can pick him up later on. He's a kid from Indiana, played at Trinity in Louisville, Kentucky. But he's a really good player, outfielder. I would like to pick him up later if he's there tomorrow. I'm higher on him than most, but hopefully he doesn't go in these next few picks here. But, yeah, mostly just high school guys kind of working through it. So from there, big Jared Jones from LSU is on the board. Wouldn't mind to take a stab at him, see if he can hit 45 home runs in a year or something like that in the minor leagues and see what he can do.
Bryce, what did you think about the Reds competition, the NL Central? Was there anyone that was taken that you're like, oh man, I hate that he went there, or anyone that was taken that you're like, ha, that guy's gonna suck?
The Cardinals have had a really good draft. Unfortunately, I like what they've done a lot. Liam Doyle, obviously going 5th, and then they took a really a fun prep bat, Ryan Mitchell, at pick 55 that I liked a lot. So, unfortunately, they've had a good draft. The Brewers are the Brewers. They've had a really weird draft. They took a prep kid who was like not even projected to be a top 5 round pick. They took him like in 32nd in the comp round. So they always do some funky stuff like that. But then the kid ended up, he's probably going to be like a top 100 prospect within a year and a half. So I don't know. I don't ever like talking too bad about them. But they took one of my favorite arms, J.D. Thompson from Vandy. But yeah, I mean, I think we've all kind of like, I had my guys that I liked. Unfortunately, the Reds didn't get anybody. I was really hoping that Devin Taylor would fall for my Cincinnati kid, but he went like 2 or 3 picks before. I think the Reds would have picked him at 51 if he was there. So
yeah, got picked at 48. Got picked at 48, and you needed to get to 51.
Yeah, but he's such a good hitter, man. I think he's going to be a really good pro.
Got a couple questions here for you, Bryce. Boston Smith hits nukes. Bryce, do you like him?
Boston Smith, where's he? I'm not. Names are kind of evade me sometimes, but let me look him up. Hold on. Boston Smith, Wright State. Oh yeah. The kid from Wright State. Yeah, he's a really good hitter. He's probably a late round guy, senior sign, but yeah, he would be a fun kid to bring on.
Played on Chatterbox Sports this year, right, Trace?
Yeah, that he did.
Yeah. No, he's a very, very good hitter. He had a really good regional at Vandy.
Just not a lot of leverage. I mean, for those that don't know, there's just not a lot of leverage for kids that don't have any eligibility left in college. And the reality is that unless you're really good and you have multiple teams that are interested in you, and you can use the leverage that the other teams really want you, and they don't want the other one to draft you, then that's your only leverage you have. So there's a good chance that probably even if you're a great player, you see this all the time. I mean, I don't know exactly when, some of these, and I'd have to look back on some of them, but you hear about these guys that go undrafted and they make the major leagues. Well, they were great players. I mean, it wasn't like they just had a bad career or something out of college. They were great players. They just didn't have leverage. So, and to be fair, sometimes it's better, Bryce, for a player to kind of act like they don't want to get drafted late. At least it did at one time. I don't know anymore, but pre-COVID, just so you have the plethora of options to be able to sign as a free agent. So, we'll see. Doesn't mean that you can't pick up a diamond in the rough late.
All right, Bryce, I won't tell you to actually yell at people, but a good point here by Scott about how taking a shortstop in high school doesn't really mean a whole lot. I mean, they might stick as a shortstop, but every decent player and athlete plays shortstop in high school, right? Or so.
Yeah. I would be concerned if the Reds were taking bad athletes in the top 10. Like we don't take bad athletes. Like bad athletes don't translate. So like Adam Dunn was a really good athlete at one point in time. Whether you want to believe that or not, he's still like 25 bases his rookie year. So like these guys are, you got to take upside. You got to take guys that can move, because I think that's the only reason Devin Taylor fell, is just people were questioning his athleticism, but that dude can flat hit. So it's why he fell to almost the Reds at 51 there.
Any chance the Reds draft UC Bearcats outfielder? Is that Landon Vioric?
Landon Vioric.
Yeah, not even close.
No, I like a lot of UC's guys. There's a Carrington Cross as well, is a fun player. But yeah, I hope the Reds are able to bring a couple of guys there. UC had a really good year, and funny enough, one of the pitching coach I had in college, he is the recruiting coordinator at UC now, Taylor Sheriff. Shout out to him. He's doing big things. So recruiting well, and UC baseball is on a really good track right now. So happy to see that. Yeah, hope we're able to bring people on there.
No Wake Forest and LSU pitchers this year?
I thought they were going to take Anthony Evanson here in the second round, but he's a good pitcher. He's from LSU. He's still on the board, I think. I love Quentin Young. That's Dimitri Young's nephew.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. He's a big kid. He went like 50, 51 or 52. He went right around that area.
Oh, he's already gone?
Yeah, he's already picked. But yeah, he's a big kid, like 6'6", 6'7". I think he's going to have a really nice career. He was one of my favorite players that I was able to look into and look through. But yeah, hopefully
Also a shortstop. Quentin Young, also a shortstop.
at 6'6".
50, yeah, 6'6", 225 shortstop. So my best guess is that he will not be a shortstop in Major League Baseball, but I don't want to pigeonhole a kid, so no judgment here, but just going to go out on a limb and say that will eventually move to a different spot. But yeah, he went 54, which was 3 picks after the Cincinnati Reds took Aaron Watson.
He has a lot of concerns there, but yeah, good player.
All right, Bryce. Trace, unless you have anything else, Bryce. Final thoughts here. Give me a grade for the Reds' first three draft picks. What do you like the most? What are you concerned about the most?
All right. I'll go B-. I'm a little concerned about just kind of. I like having guys that I feel like confident in that are going to be like major leaguers, like 100%. I'm a little worried about that with two prep guys to kind of start the draft, but I do feel good about the talent that's present there. So I think that there's always concern whenever you take prep guys, but I think they did their homework. They feel good about these guys and what they're able to provide. Things I really like about the draft, I think there's some present upside there. I think both guys that they took, Steelhawk especially, is somebody that you kind of dream on a little bit. And that's what you want. You want guys that you can dream on. You want guys that you don't have to squint your eyes at and say, oh, if these things go right, he can be a good player. But like if these things go right, Steelhawk could be a game-changing type player and somebody that you're talking about as an elite type of player. So those things that I like. I'm interested to see what they do with the kid from Ole Miss. I think that there's some really interesting thought process there because if the Reds need help, we know that in the bullpen. If Mason Moore says, "Hey, I'm willing to take the ball," let's see what he's got. I don't know. What's I guess what are you kind of missing out on there? There's been a lot of people who had success with it. Ben Joyce did it. The Angels have done it a lot with different players. So I think obviously that's not the organization we want to be, but it's a fun thought process. And I think that there's definitely still upside there with that guy, that he could be if they try him as a starter, he's got the stuff to be a high level starter. If they say, hey, we're just going to try to make you a dominant reliever, I think that can be there as well. So it's interesting. I loved last year's draft. I thought they did really well there, but we haven't really seen a ton of what that process is outside of Tyson Lewis and Chase Burns. But yeah, we'll see what they got.
All right, Bryce. Appreciate your time, brother. Bryce on Twitter at Bryce_Spalding. Literally has a thread going, reacting to every single draft pick. Bryce is the best in the business, and Bryce, really do appreciate you taking some time out of a busy night for you to join our humble show.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bryce.
Interesting. I thought point maybe to talk about Marte here for a second, Trace, is Bryce kind of got me thinking, with the upside players.
Right.
I mean, we see what a roster looks like with a bunch of okay players. Like there's not terrible players in the Reds roster, but outside of Elly De La Cruz and guys who haven't shown anything yet, Noelvi Marte and Matt McLean, there's just not a lot of upside. So when you're a small market team, you got to sometimes taking some swings or some players in the draft sometimes and getting some superstars, so it'll be interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here, but I was kind of encouraged that they drafted high schoolers because I kind of thought they were going to try to take the shortcut based on a lot of the things we're hearing from the organization. Right. And whether it pans out or not, I can at least respect the fact that they're willing to take the long path here and not maybe the easiest path.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue it both ways. I guess it really comes down to me, in my opinion, on what flexibility you have financially, on the angles in which maybe you should go about trying to build a franchise. And if you don't have a lot of flexibility, then one option to get superstars obviously is to take the high risk, high reward type players. The only issue with that is if you just swing and miss, you know, if you hit it at a 25% clip on that, I think you take it all day. But you just can't go 4 or 5 years in a row without any quality first round picks that add up to something, because you don't really know what you got until you're so far down the beaten path. Like I didn't want to go too deep into the well. Maybe like a fun little poll question maybe in here, but I didn't want to come out on X and I really don't want to go and make it feel like Steele has done anything wrong to make us dislike the kid, right? It's like it's he could be the best player in this draft, and for all the people that are going to sit here and scream and yell, and it's like it's a little disheartening sometimes when the Reds put out the post of like, what we got to steal or whatever their phrase was, and they put out the graphic of him being drafted, and the comments are just like, oh, this poverty franchise taking a high school kid. It's like, come on, man. It's like, you don't know how good this kid's going to be, and neither do I. So we can all be honest about that. I just hope in the next CBA, we get rewarded if we take a chance on these types of players and it pans out, and then we have a chance to keep them somehow, some way. I don't know if it's like a franchise tag like the NFL is. I don't know if it's like the NBA where you're going to be able to be capable of using a bonus pool that MLB provides you to give players that you drafted, and you can only use that for those players when they're up for free agency. I don't know how they do it perfectly. Well, I do know how they could do it perfectly. They could model the NFL, but that's probably not going to happen. So we got to find a roundabout way of doing it. I just, like I said before, I just get concerned that you take a 17-year-old kid that if he's as good as we hope that he's going to be, he probably will get called up around 21 years old, 22 years old. And then you don't have him for the prime of his career because he's a superstar and he's probably going to want to get paid, So that's a negative way of looking at it, I get, but I guess it beats having Elly De La Cruz's of the world than having some, and I know, dude, this isn't being disrespectful to Jonathan India. I don't mean it that way, but Jonathan India or Nick Senzel, two college guys that had a much, much higher floor that also are Major League Baseball players. And I think that's the thing that, is most damning about the draft is that you don't know if they're ever going to make it or not. And nobody really does outside the first handful of picks, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, unbelievable athlete, thinks he can beat Elly De La Cruz in a foot race right now. I mean, he's 17 years old though, that's
what I would say, Trace, is the Royals, the Cubs, like, they both won World Series, and I don't think they extended hardly any of those players.
That's
like
fair.
they got their core up. Now they got, I don't want to say lucky.
Yeah,
but
they wish they probably would have kept at least Kyle Schwarber.
I think though overall, if you could say all or nothing, they probably were definitely on the right side of nothing.
Yeah,
with the way Javier Baez's career's panned out outside of this year, you still wouldn't take that. Certainly aren't taking Chris Bryant. Anthony Rizzo, I don't know exactly what his contracts have been, but it's been not spectacular.
Sure.
It's hilarious though that the guy that's panned out the most is the guy they non-tendered. And
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber. That's how dumb this sport is. All right, we got a couple super chats here. We got one. This was from earlier. Sorry, Flat Rock. I didn't get this on here when Bryce, he was talking about Bryce. He likes to call him young Boggs. And then we got another one. It's not gonna pop up on my screen. I don't know why it's just not popping up. Jay Tenzel just said, "Go Reds." That was all he said. Thank you for your super chat, Jay Tenzel. Appreciate that one, as always. We got another question from Andrew. Asked about thoughts on CES getting sent down. We covered this a little bit, when we expected, we expected that he was going to get sent down for Fraley. I mean, I think it's a fine decision now. You're reading the super chat that I censored. I didn't think putting that on the screen was
He has a bad idea.
Yeah,
There's Gabe Tinsel knew exactly what he was doing when he put that super chat in. It just thankfully you didn't Ron Burgundy that.
Yeah. Though the chat helped us out for that. I don't really have an issue with them sitting down CES. Same time, I also think, man, they really struggled to score runs this week, and would have been nice to have some extra guys that get the ball to the ballpark against some crappy pitchers. But I don't know. I hope CES goes down, tears it up, and he's going to get another opportunity at some point this year. I'm not giving up on him, but I also can't sit here and
we got to make a decision on some of these guys internally, Nick, and make some package deals and try to get something in return for guys that you don't believe in. And here's what I mean by that. It doesn't mean that I don't think that they're going to be major league players. I mean, and again, CES is probably a bad example of this, but it's like if you're going to value other guys over top of Hines, CES, thankfully, obviously, Will Benson's gotten opportunities. But point is like, if you genuinely don't think they're a part of what your plan is moving forward, then you've got to find a way to get value out of that and ship them away. And that's one of those things where it's like, it's in the best interest of both parties, in my opinion. I'm not trying to say that you always do what's in the best interest of everybody from a human being level. But, sometimes if you break up with a significant other, it might feel a little gross maybe at the very, very onset of it, but like, I think more times than not, if it was something that wasn't ever going to make sense, that's the best way of going about it. That's the best thing that can happen for both parties. So I just hope Nick Krall digs his feet in or has a discussion with Tito and saying, you know what, like, we really believe in Rhys Hines. Like, we can't have him come up here and get sparing opportunities and then go back down to AAA and just tear it up to pieces. Meanwhile, and again, I'm not trying to rehash these things. I'm just saying, like, these are things that I hope get discussed. We have Connor Joe on this baseball team at times. We've had Garrett Hampson on this baseball team at times. Jake Fraley, I'm going to lump right in there, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm going to just say Jake Fraley's on this baseball team at times. Like, if you value those guys over Rhys Hines and you think you're going to do that moving forward, period, then let's just rip the Band-Aid off, because it's not really fair to Rhys Hines to get 20 at bats every 2 weeks and, think that somehow that's going to give him an opportunity to break through. The crazy thing is like someone might say, well, we'll take advantage of your opportunity. Nick, I don't know if you remember, but like the dude, and again, I guess you could say he got some time after this, but the dude did break into the league and, tear the cover off the baseball. I don't know if you could can you say he got a fair opportunity? Maybe you could say he did last year. I don't know, to be fair, but they just need to make some decisions. I'm tired of sitting here playing this song, these musical chairs from time to time of bringing guys up, putting them down, bringing them up, putting them down. If they don't get a real opportunity, then let's move on.
Yeah, I don't want to say this. I don't want to be too negative, but it'll be interesting to see if the Reds do fall out of the race, how it gets managed down the stretch. Do they give some of these guys opportunities that they've cast aside earlier in the year or not? I hope we don't find that out. I mean, I hope they come out of the All-Star break red hot and
just not enough. There's just not enough sample size to say these guys are not good big league hitters or not. Period.
Noelvi Marte is the best example of that.
Yes, and I'd also say Will Benson's a pretty decent example of that too. Like, Will Benson has looked like one of the best outfielders in all of Major League Baseball at times, and he's also looked like a guy that would struggle at Chattanooga. The thing that pisses me off the most about it is that we don't even replace them with great players. We replace them with guys that are just freaking terrible, or they're just borderline major league players that have bounced around like a pinball between team to team in this league. But I'm not getting mad about that today, but I'm just saying, let's make some decisions and let's move on with it. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, like if CES was getting replaced by Rob Refsnyder, a guy that's a proven platoon bat that's crushed left-handed pitching, that'd be a lot easier to swallow than a guy that's been a below-average player throughout almost his entire big league career, and his ceiling is a 750 OPS against left-handed pitching. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, it would be a lot easier to swallow, but when these guys that you do have some hope for the future that clearly have significant upside are losing playing time to those kind of guys, I agree. It's harder to swallow.
Yeah. It's it's frustrating because I think CES would have been given some real quality chances if he didn't get hurt, and he did. And when you get hurt, then all of a sudden it doesn't mean when you come back again the same opportunities will persist, right? Like if you're looking at where CES is gonna play now, where is he gonna play? I mean, you can't justify it. Marte's already taken that spot. And if Marte's not there, I don't know. I'm not saying he should be, but I'd be willing to bet a sizable amount of money that Santiago Espinal will be there. I guess the DH, but I guess then at that point you got to figure out something with Lux. You got to figure something out with maybe Steer, which you're not going to do. Steer's played too good at first base to move him.
Let me ask you this.
I don't know.
The offense has been underwhelming for the majority of the year, but I feel like there's a lot more expendable players at the trade deadline on offense than pitching. Am I crazy for saying that? Like, I think you could ship out Austin Hayes and Jake Fraley and not really maybe lose all that much of a step, especially with Hayes, because you're not even can't be that confident that he's going to play all 2 months the rest of the year. Could you wheel and deal that way? Especially maybe if you traded those two and then you were able to add some sort of like a 2-for-1 deal. Not trading those 2-for-1 player, but those two go out. One player comes in that maybe fits this roster a little bit better, and then maybe you call back up CES and stick him into some sort of role or resigns.
I think that that's where Tito would never. Tito would be so pissed off he'd never get on board with that. You know, that's where just
unless he gets Stephen Kwan, then Tito, we're gonna give you Stephen Kwan, but you got to play resigns every day.
Okay,
you got to barter with them.
Yeah, now you got my brain working because I was at one point trying to figure out. So we were selling, now we're selling, and we're also buying. So,
I mean, they did this in 2019. Okay, I think they got Bauer, they got rid of Puig. I mean, Puig was a incredibly popular player in 2019. I mean, he was probably the most popular player of the team, I think, at that point. They got rid of him. I think they got rid of someone else too. They didn't just bring in Bauer, but they also brought in Kevin Gausman. Now, that was off waivers back when you could get people off waivers, but that was basically a salary dump type pitcher that had some upside. It'd be fascinating to see if the Reds could actually pull that type of deadline off, because I kind of think that kind of deadline is the one deadline that might kind of satisfy at least part of the entire fan base. At least satisfy the do nothing argument.
That's fair. Do you think that that's a part of the conversation?
I don't know. It shouldn't be. I get like why people are frustrated, but you can't make moves because, well, we haven't done anything and people are going to get mad at us. Like, that's not a good.
They've done it before, though.
That's the Angels. The Angels.
They've done it before. You ever heard of Minor? You ever heard of that guy?
Yeah, I'm not going to be too upset about what players were traded for in a winner loss season.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, if they go out, is Duran a possibility? Is Quan a possibility?
The Twins closer really would be interesting because he's got like 2.5 more years of control.
Yeah.
So like that's the kind of, those are the players that fit better. Like if you're buying and it's players with 2 years of control left, okay, yeah, I can be a lot more on board with. I just it's hard to see, I don't even know if I necessarily am too upset about like getting rentals that don't cost too much prospects. It's just passing on the opportunity to trade players at peak value. That's the biggest hang up for me. It's more so than acquiring players.
I think the fundamental question that we don't know the answer to yet is if the Reds believe that this baseball team that they have currently on this, on the year of our Lord 2025 can actually do it or not. Who's calling the shots? Because if Tito has any kind of, and he's not ever going to say, let me be very clear about something. Tito's never going to say that he has say when it comes to what Nick Krall's job is. He's never going to say that. He's too witty, too smart. Terry Francona could sell some cars. I just want to know if they believe they can win or not. And if they think they can win, they better win coming out of the gate. And that's that. And if they don't, TJ Friedl's on the when I say everybody, people are gonna think I'm crazy. I mean everybody except for a couple, and we know who the couple are. But I'm aggressively shopping Lodolo. I'm aggressively shopping Stevenson. I'm aggressively shopping TJ Friedl. I'm aggressively shopping TJ Friedl. If there's buyers out there, you obviously have Hayes. You have Martinez. You have. I should know this probably, but where's Brady Singer at? You said he had earlier.
He's got one more year,
so he's only got 1 year left. But again, you need pitchers for next year. I'm not conceding next year here, to be clear. So yeah, I don't know. Be interesting. I mean, why else? If you're not going to shop Stevenson, then why else would you sign Trevino to a 3-year deal? That I don't know. It just seems kind of a unique thing to do for a backup catcher. Although maybe you thought you had great value in him, you liked him, blah 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 blah. But it almost seemed like they might have already had some thoughts before this. But maybe I'm wrong.
That's all I got. I'll save Reds MILB for the podcast. Mets after the break Friday. Nick Lodolo starting game 1. Mets haven't announced their starters yet, but it's going to be Lodolo, Martinez, Abbott, Singer, Burns. Burns going to go against the Nationals, as is Singer. Reds going with 2 lefties, Abbott right after the All-Star break. I assume in part because A, the Mets are better, and B, the Mets have a bunch of left-handed batters, so that makes more sense. I like Burns kind of getting an easier start out of the break. It'll be fascinating to see who the Mets throw, because the Mets have a couple really difficult matchups lefties-wise. Will they throw them right out of the break, or will they give the Reds a break? Because, you just never know. Teams' motivation for who pitches out of the All-Star break is really kind of all over the place, I feel. So it'll be kind of fascinating to see, what the Mets decide to do.
Yeah, well, we're in a weird spot because I don't know what we are either. We really needed to go 5-2 or better, man. 5-2 felt like the baseline. 6-1 felt like wow, okay, and then obviously 7-0 would have been a full show on what we could do to get somebody at the break to help us win. But I don't know. Maybe I've just been beaten down for too long to where I just always am thinking that they don't have a chance to rattle off the miracle run. But we'll see. But if you haven't liked the stream, please like the stream. Also, my apologies for quite frankly the largest technological breakdown in the history of Chatterbox Reds. Have not had too many technical issues, but my computer does not have any of the I don't know what has happened here. So my apologies for that. We won't be back for quite some time. So Nick needs to take a couple days off. I know he said he was going to do that, but I'm just openly saying to everybody, if you don't see any Reds content over the next maybe few days or whenever the hell he decides to take a break, just understand that's for a mental health check. Also, if you're ever in time of need, you can always, as a reminder, text and or call 988 day or night. It's okay to not be okay. But yeah, Nick needs to take a couple of days off here. So maybe we'll get refreshed. We'll feel better about the Reds coming back from break. Maybe they play some great baseball. They you said they had 9 games, right? It was a 3 game.
Well, I mean, technically they have 11 games, but I mean that like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, you pretty much kind of already have to have your decision. You just don't wake up the day of the trade deadline and say, "Yep, now we're going to be buyers." And like most of these trades take days and sometimes weeks of legwork to make happen. So, I mean, you got to really figure it out in pretty short order. But we'll have some podcasts the next couple of days. I already recorded one interview. I got a couple minor league guys. I got the voice of the Louisville Bats. So that'll probably come on Tuesday, and then I got Daytona and Chattanooga. So that'll be on Wednesday. And so we should have content probably every day. I don't know if it'll be on YouTube or not. I'll have to see what the quality and all that looks like, but you'll at least have something in the podcast feed just about every day.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's got it for me. Thank you, everybody, for supporting this show. A lot of people in the chat tonight. Thank you very much, even though it probably wasn't our best quality of show in regards to the technical side. Thanks for Nick for making lemonade when all we had was lemons. So otherwise, I'm going to go and probably throw this PC out in the garbage because trash runs on Monday mornings for me in my neighborhood. And until next time, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for all the kind words as well. I don't want that to go unnoticed. Shout out to Cole who was working at the game, seeing me, and said thanks for the content. And the real thanks is for all of you for giving us a chance to do this. And maybe it'd be a lot easier if the Reds just came out and won like 8 straight games. Then we can get to brewing some real sports talk. But thank you, appreciate it.
We will be on Friday. Me and you will be on Friday. We'll have I believe Craig and one of the brothers are on Saturday, but we'll be back Friday night and then Sunday, of course. So
all right,
see you then.
Well, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Hit the like button on your way out. Have a nice and lovely All-Star break. See you.